A leaked draft of a Supreme Court opinion that would strike down Roe versus Wade has hit like a political earthquake. Politico obtained the draft, which was written by Justice Alito, one of the court's ultra-conservative justices. NBC News has not obtained the draft, but Chief Justice Roberts has confirmed the leak. He also said it doesn't reflect any of the justices' final positions. But if the draft ruling holds, the court's conservative majority will take away a constitutional right that Americans have depended on for nearly 50 years. And decisions on Americans' reproductive freedom will lie with the states. President Biden said this today about the draft ruling.
The idea that it concerns me a great deal that we're going to, after 50 years, decide a woman does not have a right to choose within the limits of the Supreme Court decision in Casey, number one. But even more, equally as profound is the rationale used. Right. And it would mean that every other decision relating to the notion of privacy is thrown into question. The rationale of the decision as released, were to be sustained, a whole range of rights are in question, a whole range of rights. And the idea we're letting the states make those decisions, localities make those decisions, would be a fundamental shift in what we've done. If this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision.
If this decision holds, it's radical, Biden says. And that's because the draft targets Americans' privacy rights, which potentially puts other rights besides abortion at risk, including marriage equality and the right to contraception. Now, we've talked a lot on this show about how Roe was likely to be overturned or gutted. But seeing that draft ruling in writing has hit many of us personally, including me. It made me remember the rape kit services I received after I was sexually assaulted. It included emergency contraception, known as Plan B. Anti-abortion activists have targeted Plan B as a, quote, abortion pill, which it isn't. But many states that are passing abortion bans ahead of the Supreme Court ruling allow absolutely no exceptions for rape or incest. And that means rape survivors who get pregnant in these states, who can't afford to travel to another state for an abortion, could be forced to have their rapist child. Their bodily autonomy is violated first by the rape, and then again by the state, by being essentially forced to carry and give birth to their rapist child. Joining us now, Jacqueline Ayers, Senior Vice President for Planned Parenthood Action, and Alencia Johnson, founder of 1063 West Broad. Jacqueline, people, I think they need to know that Roe is still in effect as we sit here today, and it has not been struck down yet. Apart from that message, though, lay out what this draft ruling really means for pregnant people and really for all Americans.
Thank you so much, Zelina, for drawing attention to this. Today is just completely devastating. It is ridiculous that we are looking at a draft opinion that demonstrates we will lose a constitutional right. This opinion as drafted stands for not just rolling back 50 years. If you look deeply into this opinion, they would roll back 100 years, as we heard the president say, that all kinds of rights are now going to be in jeopardy. This is going to have a devastating impact on people, particularly pregnant people who are living in the South and the Midwest, people who are immigrants and young people who cannot afford to travel, people who will not be able to get childcare and take time off work to get out of state. Really, it also just stands for what else do the states have now that they're getting the signal from the Supreme Court? We think that there are going to be more and more states passing these kinds of bans that are extremely harmful, particularly for Black and brown people.
And Alencia, one of the things I think is important for folks at home to know is that abortion rights are a majority issue in America. And we talk a lot on the show about the threats to our democracy in this moment. And this draft ruling, if it holds, seems like really another hit against the health of that democracy and democratic norms, because 70% of Americans oppose this ruling, alleged ruling, leaked ruling. But this court may do it anyway. What are your thoughts on the idea that we are living in minority rule?
It's extremely terrifying. And I have to be very honest that as much as I'm grateful that so many people are enraged from last night, there have been so many people who have been advocating for abortion access and reproductive freedom for decades, sounding the alarm that we have to pay attention that this moment could actually happen. And I'm not just talking about, Hillary Clinton not winning in 2016 and the Supreme Court being different. I'm talking about the decades-long effort of a minority, I'm so glad you said that, of a minority few who wanted to frame this issue and stack courts, stack state legislatures, really dug deep down into the ground and said, we want to make sure that this is overturned, and we're going to do this at all levels of government. And so the frustrating piece is that they have a majority in the Supreme Court, and right now we literally have to rely on congressional action to protect abortion care at the federal level. And we also have to urge our state legislatures to pass less restrictive abortion access laws so that more people can have access to abortion and contraception and sex education. Because the reality is this is bigger than abortion. This is about contraception. This is about bodily autonomy. And if we go even further, they will use this ruling, this potential ruling, but we've heard the court say that this is actually a legitimate draft opinion. They can use this ruling to come after so many of our fundamental human rights, from marriage equality to voting rights to so many more. And so this minority rule is very scary, and we are sounding the alarm. And I'm hoping that this is the time that people are going to stand up and fight back and show up at the midterms today that are happening, midterm primaries that are happening today, as well as in November.
So important. And Jacqueline, I want folks at home to understand who's hurt and how when states outlaw abortion. So lay out for us who it hurts the most and how it does that.
Yeah, we actually don't even have to guess or wait to understand. Look, Texas passed a restrictive 6-week abortion ban back in September of 2021. So we already know the lived experiences of the people in Texas is going to now expand to the map that you have showing here to so many more states. People in Texas have told us really heart-wrenching stories, not being able to get access to their medication abortion, not being able to travel outside of the state of Texas, continuing to be forced into pregnancy, people who have shown up at emergency rooms seeking care, and the doctor saying, we're too scared to serve you. Go back home, wait until you are near sepsis, near death, right? And then come back and maybe we can help you. The chilling effect that these bans have had on not just the individuals, but the healthcare system in states is now going to expand state by state by state, where people will have increased barriers to care. And we have to remember, so many people, particularly Black and brown folks, already face a lot of barriers to healthcare in the healthcare system. So, at their core, these bans are really about reinforcing a system of white supremacy that will continue to oppress and deny people who are already lacking access. And so, so goes Texas, as the rest of these states are going to go. And the Supreme Court's draft opinion basically is green lighting this kind of attacks on people. And then we're going to see it expanded to nearly half the states.
Jacqueline mentioned the barriers to healthcare, Alencia, and I want to dial in on that point because I think that people need to understand as well. I mentioned Plan B in the introduction because personally, Plan B is something that saved my life. Let's be clear about that. How does this decision and the state laws that will come as a result, what does that mean for medication abortions, contraception, and Plan B?
Well, like you talked about right before we joined, there are some state legislatures that are trying to identify and categorize Plan B and contraception as abortion. They are trying to outlaw medication abortion, and it is becoming even more complicated for all of the healthcare providers to provide very safe medical healthcare services like medication abortion, which is extremely safe. And so they are able to get away with controlling our bodies by forcing us to birth. Then they will be able to go even further and maybe have the conversation of, well, maybe we should outlaw contraception. Maybe we shouldn't have the conversation about sex education. They are meddling with medical decisions that should be left up to so many doctors who are on the front lines and who are their hands are forced, quite frankly, that they are unable to deliver the quality health care to the patients that need it the most. The reality is, just because they will make abortion illegal doesn't mean abortion will stop. It will still happen at the same rate. However, women will die, women will be extremely harmed, and families will be disrupted for so many reasons. And that is what we are fighting against right now.
Valencia Johnson and Jacqueline Ayers, thank you so much for starting us off today. Thank you again. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.